Welcome to the Rustic Garden. Today we're going to talk about cucumber trellising. We're going to take care of some problems that are going on. I'm going to give you a tour of the different trellises just so you can see how effective they are. We're going to take care of this yellow pattern that are on the cucumber leaves, and we're going to use Epsom salts. Now the key with that, it's magnesium sulfate. Some people consider it organic, some people don't. It's a naturally occurring compound, but it provides magnesium and sulfur to your plants, and you only really need to use it once or twice in a growing season. Don't overdo it. But I'll go over the formulation for that. We're also going to take a look at how we can put in a quick trellis for these purple hull pink eye peas, which I thought were actually bush type, but they're not. So we'll go over that, and then I'll just give you a general tour, and I will actually. I'm going to show you how I'm using peppermint spray to deal with insects and issues with all the plants in my garden, but we're going to put it on the bean plants, we're going to put it on the cucumber plants. So the first thing I did was take care of the purple hull pink eye cow peas. You really want to make sure you have space in between your rows so air can circulate. And this is just green fencing post. It has a lip down here, and you just pound it into the ground with a nice little sledgehammer until that sinks to the bottom, and this is nice and secure. Put one on this end, one on the other end, and then just strung the jute across all the way up, and then weaved the cow peas through there. And you really want to get them off the ground, and again, keep this space in there. The next thing that I did was really just sprayed the undersides of the leaves, and that will wash off all of your possible spider mites, aphids, insects that you don't want, that are small, that are weak. Wash them to the ground, and that will really actually reduce a lot of the problems for spider mites and aphids. And the most important thing, as I was spraying under the leaves, I did find 4 squash bugs on the top of this cucumber here. So also inspect for eggs from insects. Also look for the insects and remove them if you find them. That will also greatly reduce damage from insects coming to your plants. And this cucumber is being supported by an 8-foot stake and chicken wire, and you can see it's loaded with flowers, and they're starting to bloom. There's cucumbers, there's female flowers that have the cucumbers on it, there's male flowers, so that should be producing in about a week, and it's doing really, really well. That's also going to get fed with the Epsom salt and with the fish fertilizer. I'll show you how to do that in a second. A single 8-foot post works really, really well for beans, because they will twine around it. It's not going to really work for cucumbers because they have tendrils and they need something to really wrap around, and that's why the chicken wire works really, really well. This is a 10-foot piece of chicken wire with plastic covered metal going down the side, so it's 5 feet high, and it's just a triangle stuck into the ground, and I believe those are some sort of cantaloupe that are going to grow up the back there, but you could do that for your cucumbers too. And this is what the trellis, the cucumber's on, it's made with the chicken wire. This just gives you an idea of how to make it. And it's just posts and chicken wire. These are my purple potted peas. They are finally blooming. But you can also use this not only for cucumbers, but for your pole beans. And it works really, really, really well. All right, Epsom salt. So all these plants are sprayed down with water to get rid of the soft-bodied insects, aphids, spider mites if they're there. And we're going to address that yellowing pattern on the cucumber leaves. That doesn't mean there's something massively wrong with your plants. Could be nutritional, could be the crazy heat we've been having, could be, I missed a watering and the leaves got a little bit damaged. It can be different things, but we're going to address it sensibly. We're going to add, at this point with this high growth for the plants, water-soluble fish emulsion, which is a 5-1-1 fertilizer, and we're just going to add some Epsom salts. The key with Epsom salts is not to overdo it. You do not need to do this weekly. You do not need to do this monthly. You could get away with it doing it monthly. It's not going to hurt your plants. But all we're doing here is kind of giving it a supplement, like taking vitamins. We're giving it a boost of magnesium, a boost of sulfur to help green it up. I've already put in, this is a 2-gallon container. You can put in 1 to 2 tablespoons per gallon, but I've only put in 2 tablespoons here, so I'm using 1 tablespoon per gallon. And again, it's water soluble for the Epsom salt and for the fish emulsion. We could just drench the leaves, that would work perfectly fine, and because it's water soluble, the leaves would take in some of that nutrition, but I'm just going to put it right into the root system. This is not an emergency, this is just addressing the high growth needs of the cucumber plants. So again, my container is a 2-gallon container, and people often ask, how much do you put in? So I actually want to just show you that. That's going to be about a half a gallon on that plant. about a half a gallon on that plant, and that will just soak right down into the root systems. And maybe not even quite a half a gallon, but close to that. Now beans do fix their own nitrogen, but I'm going to give them a little bit of feeding. And then I'm going to water in just the base of these cowpeas. And that's it. That's plenty of nitrogen and plenty of Epsom salt to help green this plant up. And I'll do future videos just to show you how this plant responds to this treatment. All right, let's get to cleaning up the leaves, looking for disease, and using the peppermint spray. So I just wanted to show you the difference between male and female flowers. That's a male flower right there. It's a yellow flower, and it's just a stem behind it. And a lot of times your cucumbers will produce tons of male flowers, and then the female flowers will come. And that is a flower, and right beneath it is a tiny cucumber. If that gets pollinated, if a bee goes from the male flower to the female flower, then that cucumber will grow and become a full cucumber that you can harvest. If it doesn't get pollinated, it'll start to grow a little bit, then the tip of the cucumber will brown out and it will die off. And that's the difference, is that a female plant has the cucumber, but it has to be pollinated by the male flower for it to fully mature. So I removed some of the leaves from underneath the cucumber plants. That's just to help with airflow. Also, the leaves on the bottom tend to yellow and get weak, and that's not a sign of some strange disease coming. That's just the bottom leaves, the old leaves dying off. And if there were watering issues or heat issues, usually the leaves on the bottom of your plants die off first, so I just removed them. On the bean plants, and I might have been saying peas because they're cowpeas, but on the bean plants they looked pretty good. Took off a lot of the bottom leaves. I put all my leaves into a pile after I do that. Look on the undersides for eggs. I didn't find any. Didn't find any insects. Earlier I did find squash bugs. I killed those. This pattern on this leaf right here, all that's a leaf miner. Now, because I only found it on one leaf, I'm not that worried. But if you had a lot going on, you had a lot of this kind of pattern, you might want to use neem oil or some sort of spray to control that. Looking at the rest of the plants, they look pretty good. When you have your bean plants or your plants on the bottom dying off, sometimes they get patterns on there like that. That's not necessarily a disease. That's just a weak leaf that maybe can't fend off what's growing on it now, so the weak leaves will show signs of what's in your garden. But a healthy leaf, a healthy plant, can fend that off, and it's not really a worry. Again, bottom leaves, and on some of these you can see a little bit of a white powder on there. That's a preventive spray I'm using. I know that powdery mildew starts rolling in about now in my area, so I am spraying my cucumber plants, my squash plants, with a fungicide. So when you cut off leaves from your plant, you damage the plant. Pheromones come out, an odor comes out. The bad insects can smell that, and that's really how they find host plants. If a leaf is damaged, or even if the plant is healthy and the wind's blowing through it, the squash bugs can smell the squash bug plant. They come, they land on it, they lay eggs, they do what they do. So the peppermint spray really helps mask the odors of your plants, makes it hard for insects to find them. Also has some insecticide properties to it, also has some fungicide properties to it. I'm not so convinced about that, but it is really, really working when I spray the undersides of the leaves for managing aphids and spider mites, and I feel like I have a reduction in squash bugs since I've been using it over the last 4 weeks. Let me show you how I do that. The peppermint spray is really easy to make. You want peppermint oil, and you want 1 drop per 2 ounces. So if you're making, a spray bottle worth, it's easier to go by drop. If you're doing a gallon container like this, it's about a half a teaspoon to 1 teaspoon of peppermint oil with enough soap just to help the oil disperse through the water so that when you spray it, oil gets on the undersides of each leaves. Now, no matter where you find a recipe, if it comes from me or from other people, always test spray before you use it. Lots of factors impact how a spray may damage your garden, including hot weather and stuff like that. But at this ratio, I found that it's pretty effective for most plants without damaging them. But again, I want you to test spray, and that means you spray a couple of leaves, wait 24 hours, 48 hours, and see if there's any damage. So the peppermint spray is in here, shake it up, and then just spray the undersides of your plants. Just like that. Really coat the leaves. If there's eggs or bad insects under there, you'll coat that. Spray the top. I found that it does not harm bees. And you are just putting a light coat of peppermint spray all across your cucumbers. I would make sure I get under the leaves, because it's really not effective 100% if you're just spraying the top of the leaves. And that's all I do with the peppermint spray. It smells wonderful. I really believe that there's value to this in keeping away spider mites, aphids, and other problematic insects. So I'm going to be doing this regularly now as part of my garden routine. Also going to be selling this oil on my garden shop eventually, probably this week, but you can buy peppermint oil in many places and go ahead and use that to make your spray. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please check out my garden shop at www.therustedgarden.com, and please check out my other YouTube videos. Thanks.